I represent Edina Public Schools.
I'm Caroline Long. I represent Robbinsdale Schools.
Rich, you're next.
It's set. Right, I'm sorry.
Good evening, I'm Karen Orchid. I represent Orono.
Crystal Brackey from Richfield Public Schools.
Dan Genester, Wayzata Public Schools.
Dan Casey, proudly representing St. Louis Park.
Shannon Andreessen from Hopkins Public Schools.
And Kim Ross representing Eden Prairie Public Schools.
Thank you. And we are without Board Member Keith Tate from Osseo, Brian Roth from West Tonka, and Mike McCall from Minnetonka tonight. Okay, next up is to approve our agenda. Is there a motion to approve the general meeting agenda as presented?
So moved.
Moved by Shannon. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kim. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye and the motion passes. All right. We have audience opportunity to speak. Is there anyone who has signed up to speak tonight? Okay, thank you, Juanita. And then we have our consent agenda. Is there any item on the consent agenda that a board member would like to pull for separate consideration? All right, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Michael. Second. Second by Crystal. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye and the consent agenda is approved. All right. Yes, the best part. We have shared the success and recognitions and our spotlight is on care and treatment tonight. And we have Principal Amanda Klutman, who is going to come and introduce our special guest.
Thank you, board members. This is going to be really exciting. Before we get started, though, I just want to introduce some of the team members that have come into the building as well. So Danny Berry, assistant principal, Nathan Perez, social studies teacher, and Gage, he's our school counselor. And then I'd also like to introduce you to the parents of the students, Angie and Justin. And now I want to welcome Mr. Perez up here to just say a few kind words about Zach before Zach comes to say a few words as well. Thank you, Mr. P. Anderson. It's all you.
Hello, folks. My name is Nathan. I teach social studies at Site 527, which is our partner started with Uable Day Treatment Center. It is an awesome experience to be here tonight. I'm really excited to introduce our guest, who has volunteered to kind of speak some words on this experience. So I hope y'all are able to listen and take those words seriously. I appreciate y'all for being here tonight. And it's my honor and privilege to welcome our student, Zach Rimbaugh.
Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
So I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna start with a little speech I wrote out. Okay. Hi, I'm Zach Rimbaugh. I attend Eagle Ward 527. Previously, I attended Eagle Ridge Middle School in District 191. My first 2 years of middle school were incredibly difficult due to me being bullied pretty badly and me being trained. I also had incredibly high emotions. It resulted in me skipping class and sitting in the guidance office or crying in a counselor's office until they just sent me back to class. I was also engaging in SIB, which is self-interest behavior. I transitioned to Uable in June of 2024. Since I've been at Uable, I believe I've improved greatly. My personal favorite part about Uable is the accessibility to break spaces and teachers understanding why sometimes you just need to leave and take a breather. I have a few goals that I'm hoping to reach before I graduate. One being able to be a safe and trustworthy person, not only to others, but to myself as well. I am also hoping that I will have explored my values and know who I strive to be. There are many useful coping skills I have learned, or am in the process of learning, that will help a great deal once I transition back to District 191 into my freshman year. Such as an anxiety management tactic that I use quite often now, where if some sort of anxious thought seems irrational, I imagine someone on the sidewalk wearing a big sign that says the irrational thought. And I wonder if I would actually believe them if this were to happen. And I also have a depression coping skill where I just get out of bed and compliment people, and it immediately puts me in a better mood just to see them smile. I know Viewable might not be a fit for everyone, but I'm glad it's been working for me.
We're super glad it's working for you too. Is it okay if board members make some comments and ask you questions? All right, super, board members. Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
I think I'm gonna start thinking of things I can compliment folks for when I get up in the morning. So I appreciate that little suggestion. Thank you so much for being here. I'm glad that you had a good experience in our programming, that it's been helpful and useful. It's just really great to have you here. Thank you for your courage and thank you for your determination.
I just wanted to let you know that I'm so impressed by you. I feel like as an adult, I am still working on being a safe and trustworthy person to myself. So you are amazing and brilliant, and thank you for coming and sharing yourself with us tonight. Really appreciate it.
So with this new experience, and I'm glad that it's been so wonderful for you and you found your place. Can you give me two things? One, what's the best thing that's helped you with that? And second, what else could we do to help students like yourself?
So, sorry, what was
The first one, so what about this setting that's been so meaningful to you to help you find what you need to take care of yourself?
Well, it is a big trend in public school, especially my public school. And I think that it's the best thing is all the staff, including teachers and academic staff, are incredibly mindful of people who are transitioning and people who may need special, not special, but like other help, and for things that you could do to help, I'd say that none really come to mind. For me, it's been a huge help, and it's been extremely helpful for me. But I would like to think about other students, and possibly I think they would say less disciplined, but I think that's just but yeah, that's basically it.
I appreciate it. I wanted to make sure that, we want to learn as well, right? That in terms of from your experience and what's worked for you, and if anything's that we could do to continue to improve, because we should never be satisfied with being what we are. We need to continue to explore and continue to improve. So I wanted to make sure we could hear that from you. Thank you.
Zach, I just wanted to say thank you. You are an amazing public speaker, which is not a talent that, comes easily, especially when you're sharing, a lot of yourself with a room full of people that you've never met before. So thank you so much for that. And I also just want to say how impressed I am by your goals for yourself and the strategies that you shared with us. I mean, those are things that like what my colleague here said, like, I'm going to actually use some of those things when I go to work tomorrow and I have a stressful day. So thank you for teaching all of us here tonight too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Angie and Justin, did you have anything you wanted to add?
On top of that.
I agree, but I wanted to give you the opportunity.
I work in education as well, just as my career, and it's really good as a parent to be aware of the different opportunities that are here for our kids. So when there is a set of special needs that need to be met, it's just wonderful to be able to have a place for my kiddo to come.
Shannon stole my thought, which was what you said about safe and trustworthy. I wrote those words down when you said them, because number one, I think I can tell that you are a safe and trustworthy person. And number two, I hope that we have been the same for you tonight. Because it, like Crystal said, it is brave to come and put yourself out there. So thank you, Zach. I love the double thumbs up. You're welcome to stay for the rest of our business, but you don't have to. And, Mary, Nathan, thank you for being here. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Okay, are we good to go? We don't have any items on our superintendent's report, so we will go on to our instructional report, and we have Kiara Zachary, our Director of Equity and Inclusion, who is going to talk about our Grow Your Own programs. Hype
We
squad.
couldn't agree more.
I'm gonna expect that every time, y'all.
The microphone is not.
It's
working,
over
so it's
there.
that one,
Okay,
yeah.
is this, I'll try to project. I hope everyone online can hear me. Good evening, Madam Chair, Superintendent Dowd, who co-present with me and the rest of the board. I am really excited to share with you all an update on our Grow Your Own program and share some of our highlights. I'll introduce two of our success stories out of our program at the end too. So I'm really excited to share all of the wonderful work that we've been doing. Get started. So I'll just briefly talk about the history of our Grow Your Own programs in District 287 and why we need them. I'll review the funding for the program, talk about how this connects to you all, like why are we sharing this update with you at a board meeting? And then I will allow my colleagues to share what the program has meant to them personally and professionally.
So we'll start with a little bit of a timeline. Grow Your Own has been part of Intermediate District 287 since 2016. And so our West Metro partnership with St. Cloud or Hennepin Community College and St. Cloud University. And it was really to build a pathway for licensure for special education. So this isn't new, but we keep improving.
And in 2020, before my time, the predecessor of this role created the Anti-Racist Leadership Program to support aspiring leaders of color. And then in 2020, the 2022-2023 school year, we received a grant from the state of Minnesota to create a student pathway for Grow Your Own.
And you've all heard of iTrack, our apprenticeship program. And so as we are here today, we also have our apprenticeship and pathway to special education licensure.
So why do we have Grow Your Own programs in District 287? And we've shared with this board before our racial demographic data of our staff, and we'll review some quickly, but there's really three main reasons. The first is that we're looking to racially diversify our teacher workforce. We're working to increase the amount of highly qualified special education teachers. Being in a federal setting 4 requires additional licenses than traditional districts when it comes to the type of license you can have to be a special education. And so we need support to support the District 287 staff who are committed to special education and those that are seeking to obtain teaching and administrative licenses. A great way to retain staff is to have programs that they can access for career development and growth. And when you can articulate them and provide the necessary wraparound services and supports, they will stay with us. So not only will we develop the workforce, but we hope to retain the workforce through these pathways as well.
So we shared this percentage when we did the apprenticeship. And so when we say percentage of teachers who are not highly qualified, that means they have a tier 1, tier 2, or out of field license. And so you can see a statewide average, but in the intermediates, it's drastically higher. A big part of that has to do with the licensure of ABS. We talked about our pathway has to have an autism or categorical license of either ASD or EBD. That ABS in the Fed setting 4 is not going to work. And so, we are also looking for teachers who might be interested in a Fed Force or a general education teacher who's thought about going to special education or found a passion. So we are outside the average, statewide average on highly qualified. So we have to do something.
And then to provide some more context for the need to racially diversify our staff, as you can see, we're pretty disparate. Now, we're not really disparate from the state. We're pretty on par for the state, but there's definitely work to do in regards to our teaching staff. You can see that our programming is effective, right? So that if you look at the green bars, you'll see that our licensed staff of color, our teachers of color are increasing from FY23 to FY24, but again, we still have a long ways to go. And then in regards to the administrative pathway, our principals are 100% white. We have no racial diversity in our principal population. So we obviously need to do work there as well. In our assistant principal, there's more racial diversity. And again, we've made improvements from just even from last year, but thinking about the importance of again, having career pathways for our staff of color to be able to identify that these are opportunities is important.
So right now we are running 3 pathways, one for students, staff, a pre-apprentice, meaning they don't have enough credits yet to enter into the apprentice program. They may have some college credits, but the apprenticeship needs at least 53 credits. And so we support them in the pre-credit work as well as going through the apprenticeship and then out of field. So if they're interested moving up those tiers or have a general ed license and would like to become a special education teacher, we also provide funding to support that. And now we have our apprenticeship leadership pipeline. What's unique about it is it doesn't come super easy. It is a lot of grants. We live on grants and we have to braid the funding because each grant has a specific component to it. It's not only grants we're getting, it's also grants from the colleges and university funding. So there is a collaboration with our colleges and university in supporting some of the expenditures, and then our state and federal funding to our Grow Your Own participants and programs. All of it is with the intention of breaking down barriers, financial barriers to access a license.
So here are the amount of staff and students that we're supporting within each of our programs. So we have 9 pre-service teachers currently. We have 16 apprentices total. We have 7 in our program now, and we have 9 candidates for next year. We have 12 staff that have a tier 1, tier 2, or out of field placement license that we're supporting to get full licensure in special education. And we have 20 plus students. I'm excited to say that are in our student pathway. WOE stands for our World of Education class. It's an NSO course where students can explore education and have some opportunities to reflect on what it would mean to be a teacher. And we have an internship program that we run. So our students are trained and supported as additional staff in classrooms during our extended school year programming. When we created the presentation, we had 8 student intern applications. Now we have more. I think I got 5 or 6 this week. So that number is growing. Something else that's really exciting about our World of Education course is that this was our pilot year. It was the beginning of that course. And we had 12 students, which is exciting. But we listened to the student interns last year, and they wanted to continue the internship throughout the school year. So now we're working on embedding some ELA standards into our World of Education course so that our students can continue the internship throughout the school year and earn core credit. So we'll see that number increase as well.
Why we're sharing this with you tonight, one is to acknowledge the amazing work that Rita Burns, who's unable to be here tonight, and I'm presenting her slides, and Kara Zachary has done to build these pathways for our students, staff, and administration pathway. But we want you to we bring a lot of grants, and we rely heavily on grants, as we want you to know about it. Understand the impact that we are changing the outcome of our workforce in all good ways, and that's really exciting. And legislative priorities. We don't know if these grants are gonna stay. We don't know what's gonna happen with either federal or local grants. We're gonna keep going after it. We're gonna keep doing the pathway, but they could be at jeopardy for future. Just based on any kind of grants or grow your owns that are cut from the federal government. So keep advocating for us. It's changing our demographics and we're really bringing amazing people into our field that want to be in District 287. So thank you for your continued support. Now the fun part.
Now the fun part. I'm going to introduce a newly tier 4 instructor. So she reached tier 4 licensure. And she teaches in our tier 3 high school program at South Education Center, Lynn Ely. And then I'll also have the joy of presenting or introducing our teacher on special assignment, which is our leadership pipeline, Mario Reese, who also is at South Education Center, but is doing a residency, which is a part of the program, our leadership pipeline program with Care and Treatment. So they'll be able to talk a little bit about their work and what their programs mean. So y'all come on up. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Lynn Ely, and I am a tier 4 licensed ASD LD instructor for South Education. The pathway that brought me here was the way to grow. It was the pathway that started me on this trek to be able to be in a wonderful school, a wonderful district, and to be able to understand. I mean, like, I don't know how we can stand after the presentation or the speech, but to be able to understand what the things that we do, how we're able to do it, and how we're able to be highly qualified in learning in the growth program that was established for us to be able to be at this point. So for me, I actually started in 2016 when it like the first started with the West Metro program. And I think it's very significant as far as not with just the racial part of it, but just also to have individuals that are really wanting and highly qualified to be a part of this program, because individuals that you see, they really do make a difference. And I'm really proud to stand here to see the young person that was here, to know that individuals at the Care and Treatment, they made a difference. The pathway that I have and the pathway that you will help for others will make a difference. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. First off, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to speak in this space tonight. I'm super excited. So I started talking really fast. And Zach just killed it to the point where I was like, I don't even want to go anymore. I'm good for the rest of the night. They don't need me. And that was great too. So thank you. And I agree with everything that I've heard tonight. Like I said, it's truly an honor to be standing in front of you guys today as one of the newest members to District 287 as part of the Leadership Pipeline program. I can't tell you enough just how humbled I am to be here and how inspiring this program has been for me this school year. When I think about what it means to work at 287, a place that's known for being bold, innovative, and unapologetic. But I just feel both, I'm excited and I just feel like a responsibility, just to show up the correct way. And for me, this is more than just a job. The work that I get to do here, this is purpose work. This is really purposeful. And it gives me meaning and makes me want to be here every day. And my passion to advocate, to amplify voices and to create safe spaces for family and students, it didn't just start, my first day when I started at 287 this school year at South Education Center. That's something that's always been in me. And so to be in this leadership pipeline, to be in a role where I truly get to stand in the gap and to be able to navigate systems that weren't always built for all of us. It's like I said, it's just truly remarkable, and I'm just glad to be standing in front of you all. Intermediate District 287 is special. It's a district that doesn't shy away from the challenges. It's a district that leads with the heart, with courage and relentless commitment to doing what's right. And from day one, I seen it, and I know all of you, if this is your first board meeting, you've heard from great educators. Even if this is your first one, like I said, you got to see us. We're here. Being here, I get to work alongside some of the best, there are. And I just, I hope that I'm able to reach that. We all understand the importance of the work that we do here. We aren't checking boxes. We're providing life enriching opportunities, which is something that you'll often hear PR. And it's, it's in our daily practice. It's how we show up. It's how we listen. It's how we build trust and how we build community. We get to support students who carry extraordinary gifts. Students who are resilient, creative, and brilliant, and deserve to be honored every single day. I'm just happy that I get to be a part of a team that believes in this, that this is our mission, that we believe in disrupting systems of harm and replacing them with systems of care, love, and liberation. And most importantly for me, being here at 287, it's allowed me to learn, to grow, and to be challenged. The work that we have, I don't always have all of the answers. But one thing that I have done and that I've shown is that I'm going to show up with humility, curiosity, and a commitment to be a part of our collective transformation. And that's just been everything for me this school year. The leadership pipeline at Intermediate District 287 has been a life enriching opportunity for me. I'm thankful for the welcome that I've received from the community, for allowing me to walk alongside all of you, and for me to just be able to contribute to such a great school district. Like I said, I'm humbled, I'm honored that we get to work with every student, no matter their story, no matter their struggle, no matter their brilliance, and just let them know that they belong here. I belong here, we all belong here, all are walking here at 287. Thank you. And like I said, just happy to be here in partnership. Thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it.
Any questions?
Yes. Also, nobody has questions? Come on now. I hate being first.
Just so overwhelmed. I need a second.
Got it. There's two parts to my questions. One, if you're doing the slideshow, could you go back to the grant slide? I think it's like number 4 or something like that. There you go, right there. Oop, right there. And taking what you said, Marcy. So on the 3 categories that funnel grant funding into 287 so we can actually do this program, can you give me a sense of either percentages or dollar amounts currently right now that are coming from the 3 categories? Ballpark. Like 20%?
Like the pipeline we got $1 million. The 4 intermediates came together. We each got $1 million. We had that legislative component. We got $1 million there. And some of our colleges, I'm not privy to how much they get.
Okay.
But then our bill is reduced. The Grow Your Own student one, I don't know the total amount. 750,000.
And how much of it is from the federal government? None of it.
Well, I don't know the trickle down. It's an MDE grant.
Oh, okay. So there's some money that goes to the state and then it gets funneled through MDE down through that process.
But I would say overall, we probably have about 3 million in this.
Okay. And so the reason why is because we're all looking at this at our own individual districts, dealing with what percentage of federal funding is going to what and so on and so forth. Obviously, there's a lot of else. So this is now going to lead into my second, it's kind of more of a comment than a question, is that first and foremost, thank you very much for your passion and your energy and your participation in this program. It is so critical. No matter what is said outside the 4 walls of 287 about the value of these things, please note inside 287, and I can only speak for myself, but I would like to believe that everyone at the table would say this too. We're going to continue no matter what happens to try to figure out how we maintain this program because it's critically important for the mission that we have. And what's hard is with all the noise and all the BS that's outside these 4 walls, that it can leak in to what we do. And so what I loved about the presentation from both of you, as well as our team leaders, is that this is so important. This is so critical. And while we don't always have complete control over everything that happens, like that slide, we don't have 100% control over what happens with with these parts, but we're committed to making sure we do everything we can from a board level, but also especially at the administrative level, to make sure we can keep this going, because this is how we're going to continue to grow and be successful. And the idiots outside the four walls who don't get that, don't let them become the narrative. There's my soapbox for the night. Yes, ma'am.
Come back up, come back up.
To that effect, I just want to add my fertilizer on it. Thank you so much, because it's really necessary. I, as a teacher at the tier 3 transition, it's really hard to see, and I have lovely people that I have taught from Edina. One in particular, if I said the name, you know he is, but it's really relevant that we do have this, because we are in a small environment for individuals that deserve, that have the right to be able to be taught and to have the same the same things that they do as their general peers. One of the things that breaks my heart is that when we have such a high referral and we don't have enough of us's. It's really vital. It's really important that they get enough of us's, because in order for them to be who they are, like Zach was, we need to have that. So I just wanted to say thank you for bringing it up and put the fertilizer in and be like, yes, this program is the way to move that pathway forward. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And the other thing I would just follow up with that is that, and this is why when we talk about, or when we hear DEI, of course, the thing that's always left off is the A at the end of that. And that's exactly what you're talking about. And that is the thing that we need to make sure we bring outside the four walls.
Exactly. Thank you.
I just, again, I feel like the two of you, like, I mean, of course, we're absolutely perfect. And like speaking to both somebody who's brand new to 287 and somebody who was here from like day one of this effort and is now a tier 4 teacher. Like, I think, like, yes, again, that is congratulations. That's a big deal. So I think you just were like perfect. And thank you for spending your Thursday night with us. The funding terrifies me, and I think we collectively have to be committed to staying the course regardless of whatever winds are happening around us. And I think my one question is actually quite different from that, but I was really excited to see some of the progress that's been made just in the last year on the leadership pipeline front when we're looking at the diversity of our leadership positions. And I'm curious if some of that is because of people who participated in the leadership pipeline program previously who are now moving into those positions.
We have one.
Okay.
Yeah. So the program, so the program doesn't run as robustly as the Grow Your Own, the teacher pathways. So we do them 2 at a time. So Mario has a counterpart. And so one of the leaders that is currently at North Education Center completed the pipeline and is in transition to an assistant principal role last year. Yeah.
Okay. I just will, of course, say I hope that we can keep that going too and keep growing, because I do think it's so important to have initiatives at every level of the organization, because that is how we make true systemic change.
I agree wholeheartedly with what Director Brecky is saying. And then I also wonder, how can we help as elected officials? What would be something that would be helpful in order to keep this program going? I know we probably don't have much impact on what's happening at the federal level, but are there certain things that we can be doing at the state level that would help keep this program going?
So we have,
Marcy's all in the bills.
in my weekly newsletter, I shared with you our Senate House file and our Senate in-house file. on iTrack. And received in both the Senate Ed Finance Committee and the House, and just the Senate's omnibus bill just came out and it identifies iTrack. So we'll see what the House does, but I think that continued advocating. We have a system up and running and growing, and that continued funding will allow us to bring more cohorts. And so keep talking about teacher shortage. I know there's a conversation about a lot of districts doing budget cuts. Special education, there's still a shortage in teachers, and even if special education is being cut, it's usually the last cut. That is not going to help the shortage we have. And unfortunately, that some districts are in that situation of cutting.
And thanks for that. And I think too, whether you're in a position of cutting or not, we all have unfilled positions in our district, and we can kind of track where those are. And so I think it's important. There's this thing called maintenance of effort that I learned about at a board meeting, that these fields in particular are really important to have the people necessary for us to fully support our students.
And highly trained. This is, and all of our pathways, it's not a quick, it's a lot of work, a lot of heavy lifting, and amazing results.
Yeah.
And
I
was just gonna say, any follow-up?
No, I think it really is just about the advocacy and the continued support for the programs. Mario talked about how we define equity is for being intentional about providing life enriching and life essential resources and opportunities to students, staff, and families. And this is why the Equity and Inclusion Department is involved. Because for our students and for our aspiring leaders, this is a life enriching and life essential opportunity.
Thank you.
I've just editorial comment. I think one of the most powerful things we can do is tell stories. We now can translate, words like apprentice program into, this is the kind of person and the kind of work you're going to impact. And the thing through all of this that I always go back to is that all of the marginalized groups that are being attacked, every one of us in some way, shape, or form are a part of one of those groups or are personally connected to them. And when we tell the stories, that helps remind the person we're talking to, oh yeah, the neighbor I grew up with or whatever. And I mean, I think to personalize it is really, really important. And if y'all know anybody in the media, I mean, seriously, we got to get these stories out there. So thank you for sharing yours. I have 2 more stories I can tell now. Well, 3, counting Zach.
What else have I? I'm overwhelmed by the power in this room tonight. It's been a hard, I don't know, week, 3 months, whatever, in the world of education. And I feel like you two, thank you, and Kiara and Zach, have brought a life enriching opportunity tonight to us. So thank you. Thank you very much for being here. And again, you are welcome to stay, but you don't have to. I'm sure you have to be at work early tomorrow morning.
Oh, another shout out too, just real quick. Sorry, I glanced over. Lakia is also a part of our first cohort. Grow your own too. And he's here for moral support, but
thanks, folks.
Also deserves all the praise.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, team.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Kara. Okay, under our Business Services and Labor Relations report, we have Brian Schultz, our Executive Director of Business Services and Operations, who's going to present the long-term facilities maintenance 10-year plan resolution, which is going to be an action item on our agenda tonight.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and board members. I always feel that finance and kind of operations stuff follows the student. Great success story. I was kind of like,
People need
No,
good
we're
buildings.
really
Thank you.
excited about it.
Right.
Really excited.
Well, keep in mind, we can't do those things without fiscal management.
That's
Very true. So tonight, we're here to start the annual process for approving the long-term facility maintenance plan for District 287, which also then goes back to your member districts as resolutions. That's why we start this process a little earlier here. So you will start having that come on your agendas in the next month, 2 months, as this is all due in July to get it on district levies. So right now, we're looking at expenses. We're projecting for fiscal 27. So this LTFM plan is for fiscal 27. And that's because of how the levy process works, right? It'll be approved this fall by member districts. It'll go on levies in 2026 and collected in taxes, and then it funds fiscal 27. So there's this long leg of how we get these funds. So there's a lot of estimates that we have to do. And then our costs will go on member district levies. And if we do not end up spending all of our funds, they do go into a restricted reserve, similar to what it would do in your district. Then they can be used in for future projects for deferred maintenance needs. So since the intermediate districts do not have a LTFM cap, which is a little different than most school districts, some school districts do not have a cap. They were the 28 largest districts in the state at a given time when it was, I can't remember what it was called, deferred maintenance something program prior to LTFM. And when they developed this, I believe it's 293 per pupil, I believe is what your member districts would get. Unless you're one of the 28 largest. So then there's a pot of money they would get. You don't qualify for that as it's strictly a levy component, but we are allowed to levy on member districts, tax levies. So this year, we did do a change since there isn't a cap. And I worked with your member district business managers, which we call BDAC. It's our Business Director Advisory Council, similar to CDAC that you always hear too, right? The Special Ed Advisory Council. To do a change, we are going to see a significant drop in fiscal 27 in our lease levy. So we were looking for creative ways to get additional funding for deferred maintenance needs for 287. So I proposed with that group, would you be willing in your districts to allow us to maintain a stable levy between lease levy and LTFM? So as our lease levy would go down, we could levy a little bit more in LTFM. And then if we needed more lease levy in the future, we would reduce LTFM and just try to keep a stable levy for our member districts. And they were very receptive to that. And I listed a couple of the reasons why in your board packet. And one, right, keeping stable and consistent levies is good for taxpayers. Right? We don't like to see the big ups and downs. You get lots of questions, and if you can keep it stable, people can plan budgets around their property taxes. It also allows 287 flexibility to increase LTFM funding. So as I mentioned, right, if we can increase when lease levy is decreasing, and that is occurring in fiscal 27, as there's a bond or a certificate of participation that we are paying off in fiscal 26, that we no longer have to lease levy for in 27. So that is a reason why it's dropping. And that is going to occur again in fiscal 29, as there will be another large certificate of participation that we use to build the North Education Center. So we're starting to see some of those drop off, which is allowing a little bit more room within the levy. And then it gives District 287 a secure funding source for our AG buildings to maintain as these buildings are becoming 15 to 20 years old. The debt's getting paid off. Well, now the roof is 20 years old and needs to be replaced. And these are significant projects. As an example, the north roof would be about a $2 million project. That's our biggest building with the most roof space that would have to be replaced. So that's just an example of a project that we would be planning for with these funds. And then it also gives member districts a neutral impact to their budget. If we were to have to do some of these costs through our normal operating budget, which increases our bills to member districts, by putting it on the levy, it becomes neutral as it goes on your levy. It's really a pass through. So there is really no overall impact to member district for this program. We do allocate it. So there's an allocation spreadsheet that we shared with MD of how to get it on each member district's levy. And that is calculated similar to how we do the lease levy. It's proportionate share to each of the member districts based on 1/3 is based on the adjusted pupil units for each district. And then 2/3 is on a 3-year weighted program usage calculation. So you combine those two to get a percent, which is what you see in that allocation spreadsheet that we share with MDE. And that's how we spread the LTFM amount that we're proposing to member district levies. Overall, we're looking at about $722,000 increase over what was on the levy last year for intermediate 287. But the decrease in lease levy is actually more than that. So I left some cushion in there, 120,000. It was about a $840,000 decrease in lease levy. Just in case we need, if there's some space, as an example, in our CTE programs at HTC, if we had to lease some additional classroom space for expanding programming there. This just gives us some cushion, and some of this will be planned and brought forward with business managers at your districts this summer as we go through the PAY 26 levy process. So for our fiscal District 287's fiscal 27 expenditure plan, we built in was estimated in about 150,000 for health and safety expenditures. Those are around radon testing, lead and water testing, asbestos, playground inspections, etc. PPE for our nurse's office, etc. We also built in about 108,000 for deferred maintenance needs. So that we're planning on some smaller carpet replacement, door replacement. We don't have any major projects that we're seeing because some of those major projects are getting done with our facility maintenance bond that we still have some funds remaining from. So I brought some of those bids forward and they're going to be happening this summer within the district. So some of those major projects are happening with those facility maintenance funds, bond funds. So that's where we're going to end up building the reserve for with these additional dollars that we're proposing this evening. We'll build on that restricted reserve so that we'll have those dollars for those major projects in future years. So the overall process, so tonight is that beginning of the process where we're coming to 287 to approve the resolution and the allocation to member districts. And then I'll prepare individual resolutions for each member district. I send all that information to your business managers. We'll get it on your board agendas for approval by your boards. And then they return all of that to me. And then the information that is approved by both member districts and District 287, I share with MDE by the end of July, and that will complete the process to allow these expenditures to be on district levies this next year. With that, I'm going to open it up for questions from the board.
I will, before as people are thinking of questions, I just want to give my annual pitch for, this is one of the only times you get to talk about 287 at your home board table. And I always just want to say, think about how you can tell the story of 287 a little bit in that moment. It's just, we don't get very many opportunities to do that. So I just like to say that every year. So yeah.
I'd just like to share too, if they're in your packets and I think at your tables, there is what the board needs to know, just some information that you can bring back to your boards if you get questions or to share with your board at that board meeting. Typically it will be done at the same night as your own district's LTFM plan. They kind of coordinate those typically. But there's just some good information about what I talked to this evening that you can share and be able to answer with your board as well.
So any of this is fine to share with.
Correct.
Great. Perfect. Any other questions or comments?
I did just have a quick question, to that point of telling the story. I'm wondering about, how is this different and or in relation to the one we had last year about the levy?
The LTFM?
Yes.
So It's going up about $722,000.
Okay.
So that's the difference in LTFM. But the district will see a drop equivalent or more than that on their lease levy. So the overall levy will
Gonna be about,
stay stable. Yep, we'll be very close, give or take, say $10,000. But when you think of some of the overall district levies, they're anywhere from 10 million to 125 million in total. So the change is very minimal to the overall levy for your districts.
thanks.
So then just to follow up to that, so then the information for each member district that we'll see will show us both of those things? The reduction in the lease levy?
It does not, but I can include that. I
That
have
would be
it- I have it
helpful.
here, so you
Yeah.
can see it by district and you can see the overall, well, my district went up $2,200 and
Yeah.
down a little
I'm
bit.
just
'Cause it'll
anticipating my
change slightly
colleagues.
From each year, just based on
Yeah.
the usage calculations, but
Yeah,
it'll show how minimal the impact actually is.
that'd be
I'll
helpful.
share that.
Yeah, perfect.
You can put in my Friday newsletter.
I can.
Thank you.
So then I was also wondering about the allocation, the per district
Mhm.
that you provided here, and thanks for that, so that we can kind of break that down for our home district. And I'm wondering the percent allocation, is that based on our current enrollment? And
Well, that's where I
does
mentioned. yeah,
that
that's-
fluctuate?
It's based on your enrollment, so the adjusted pupil units in each district is 1/3 of the percent. So in the calculation, and the other 2/3 is based on program usage in District 287, so ALC programming. So it'd be on kind of an ADM basis of how you utilize the programs at 287, each member district,
But based on a 3-year average.
but on a 3-year average,
Okay.
correct?
That's
And that
what I
was developed
wondering.
with, work with the business managers of each member district. That was a formula they all agreed, was an equitable way to allocate the funds on the levy.
Thank you.
We put a lot more on Minnetonka. Because they're not here and they haven't had 3 years yet.
Says you don't.
Come on, guys, we gotta find a little humor somewhere. Sorry.
All right, so this is an action item, so if you have any further questions, please ask them. And if not, then I will entertain a motion to approve the resolution for the long-term facilities maintenance plan as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Shannon, is there a second? Second by Karen. Any further discussion? And then I believe that our clerk will call the roll.
All right. Shannon Andreessen,
Aye.
Michael Bergman,
Hi.
Crystal Brackey,
Aye.
and Casey.
Aye.
The clerk votes aye. Caroline Long,
Yes.
Aaron Orchid,
Hi.
Michael Remicall is absent. Brian Roth is absent. Kim Ross,
Hi.
Keith Tate, absent. Richard Zach. All right. Yeah, I have it.
All right. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, under board business, we have some policy review items that Superintendent Down is going to tee up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All right, we'll start with policy 806, crisis management policy. This is the second reading. After the first reading, there were no recommended changes, so I am seeking approval.
All right, any questions on that? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve policy 806 crisis management for, as presented. So, moved by Shannon, second by Michael. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye and the policy is approved.
All right, the next one is policy 601, school district curriculum instruction and goals. Again, this is the second reading. There were no changes after the first reading, so I'm seeking approval.
Questions or comments on this one? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve policy 601.
So moved.
Moved by Shannon,
Second.
second by Kim. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye and the policy is approved.
All right, now we're gonna go into some first readings. The next policy, or the policy that will have our first reading is policy 524.5, personal electronic communication devices policy. As you all know, we have to have a cell phone policy. It was in our tech policy, but we brought it out so that families and students can easily find it. And so again, we used MSBA language. We did our traditional with using caregiver as we talk about families. There is nothing that's changing in the way of practice by implementing this policy. We're already implementing this policy as is in the district. And I'll just stop with that one first. See if there's any questions or comments.
All right, questions or comments on this cell phone?
Go ahead. Okay. I was just curious, is the feedback from students recent or was it from when we did this last time?
It was from when we did this last time, and one building did implement in January a policy, and some of that feedback as I walked the hallways was added.
So you're getting real-time feedback? Okay, because I think that kind of gets to my question, which is like, have we heard different things since the technology policy that this is part of has been instituted?
I think it has been difficult to sometimes put the cell phones away.
Yep.
And it's been very also good in regards to student engagement as a narrative. I would say that teachers and administrators have said. Every once in a while, there's a little power struggle with the phone, but I think they're getting used to it. Is the better way, the best way I could say. And as students are referred and enter into District 287, it's part of the initial conversation now, and that helps.
Caroline. Well, being an educator, I could go on for this forever. It's my nemesis, but also my not. My feeling around this though too is just like, when the internet first came out and then we weren't sure of how to deal with that and the dangers of that, is what kind of learning components are we putting into place for students so that they learn how to appropriately use these devices, because they can be really good, useful educational tools. I know within my classroom, students have the option of they could read the book with me, read it to themselves, or they could listen to the book, the audio version on the book. And oftentimes they pick to use their phones to do that. Or math, using calculator that's right there on their phone to do that. They can access Google Classroom through their phones. They can do their assignments through their phones. So it can be a good academic use, but then it's, teaching them, are you using it for its intended purpose within this situation, or are you not? Another piece that I kind of see too is the mental health of students too. And it almost becomes a safety net for those students who might have anxiety and stuff, because it's a way to reach your parents or to reach those people who are your support people when you get really escalated or triggered. I remember having a student whose mom was dying of cancer, and he would never put that phone down. And the staff didn't know. And then once we knew, it was like, yeah, and she ended up dying several months afterwards, but to feel bad that you're like telling this kid, put your phone away, when he's constantly trying to see what's going on with his mom.
Yeah. And those are two really good points. And I think that we do a nice job in District 287. And so there's exceptions. Some of our students do use it for calming music. And so we might a staff member may take it out and put it away. So there are exceptions. And one thing I'm so proud about our staff is that they're that flexible, right? Like, when, how can we support you? And then also, right now, the phone is not helping you to stay on task. In regards to social media and tech, it's increased safety with some type of sometimes outside stuff coming inside. That's been reduced. I think both your points are well taken in, what I have seen is that students have access to the phone if they need it for a reason. And then our staff just usually are one-to-one, so they just make it happen and make it work. So, and the teaching, I do think is an area that we need to continue to grow on. Because I absolutely agree with you. And we have an online school. So this was a hard conversation to go, okay, you know, how do you use that? And so some of those, the language in our our policy is really to allow those unique situations for programming where a phone, because we do online, we do ALCs, students need to ride buses, and how do we be flexible with each of the programs too? There's a little caveat for those programs in our district.
I want to say thank you for, engaging with the students on this.
Well, they'll tell me.
The way their voice is clear, yeah. This has been a very big issue, in Wayzata. We postponed our approval of our cell phone policy because there were concerns about alignment between our middle schools and whatnot. So I appreciate how diligent, the ad hoc committee, our administration has been with, scrutinizing any number of variables that might be in front of us. And really making sure that there's buy-in from everyone on it because cell phones are a big part of our lives. I've become increasingly cynical over just all of the, hate and misinformation that's on social media. I don't want kids being hurt by that because it's just so awful to be sucked down. So I appreciate the empathy. I appreciate the conversations with students. I think it's, been a journey for school districts to navigate this issue. And I'm glad that we have a good policy in front of us. So thank you.
I'll just add one more thing. I totally agree with you and kind of the way that we've been talking about it in Eden Prairie is about intentionality, right? So when you're going to use devices in the classroom, that's cool. Just be intentional about why you're doing it and so forth. And you're absolutely right. The genie is out of the bottle. It's not going away. So, we need to teach kids how to use the devices and be judicious consumers of information. How do you recognize the BS that's out there, right? And so I think as we talked about this, giving building leaders some latitude from the standpoint of, to kind of what Dan was saying about in EP, our policy is different in the middle school than it is at the high school. And so, just kind of bringing all those things together to really create a policy that's common sense.
Yeah, go ahead. Can I say another comment? When I look at the discipline of it too, I like the fact that it just doesn't rely on the teachers. A lot of the cell phone policies that I've seen just rely on the teachers to discipline the students if they're violating that policy, but it really needs to be a whole community. It needs to be the administrators and the parents need to be involved in that too. Otherwise, I don't think we're going to make any headway with the kids. And then it just kind of creates a pitting the teacher against the student then too.
I also think that leads to a lack of consistency.
Yeah.
That if you have a policy, it has to be consistent. So I know at least me, Dinah, we explicitly, as we were working this out, that we wanted to make sure that we didn't solely put it on the teacher, that we really wanted to make it in the building itself so that you can then maintain consistency. Because what we found is when you allow teachers or require teachers to be that, some teachers are going to only be able to do it a certain way because that's who they are, vice versa. And that has actually been a huge added bonus to as we've gone this past year.
Definitely in ways that we've heard that viewpoint from teachers. Even our longest serving staff members have said, it was kind of being put on me. I wish there was more support, just from that school community as a whole.
I would have to thank Dr. Tanya Allen for our administrative team. Make sure this policy is like everybody's on board or we're not. Because that's just how it goes. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Okay, we will see this again.
Yep. So because that policy got changed, we had to change policy 524, which is our technology policy. And we removed the language, and there's no reason to be redundant and have an extra long. It's an active link so that it'll link them right to this policy to get more information, the one we just went over. So the two are connected and they'll be visibly connected on our website. So you'll have the technology policy, which is 524, and then you'll have this right next to it and the link within the system. So it really was a minor change.
So other than that, there's no change to this policy. It's what we had.
It's what we had.
It's
It's
just pulled out.
just pulled out.
Okay. Any questions or comments on that? It seems to make sense. I don't think it's been that long since, it hasn't been very long
April,
since we saw
right?
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, or,
Super.
all right, so the next policy is policy 603, curriculum development policy. And so this is the first reading on that policy. Couple of the changes that we did was we, instead of English learners, we use multilingual learners in our district. And so we did some changes. Otherwise, for the majority, it follows the language of MSBA. Caregiver was changed. We had our curriculum team, coaches, special ed, equity, review the policy. No language changes were recommended, but feedback around aligning the policy with the strategic plan. So our achieving academic success and our family engagement components of each of those 3 buckets on our strategic plan is how can we have a district advisory committee and family caregiver participation, not only on the curriculum, but as part of the strategic plan and bring those together so we're not having multiple family
Yeah.
groups.
Right.
And then I think that is it. What I forgot to do last time. Anybody from the ad hoc committee would like to share any information on this policy?
Okay, we will see this again. If you think of something, feel free to share it with Superintendent Dowd.
Perfect. Our last policy is policy 616, school district systems. Again, this policy, we changed language to align with MSBA. We updated kind of old language into newer. The last time this policy was revised was 2016, so a few things have changed in the curriculum world and accountability. Again, the curriculum team, coaches, special education, equity, no language changes were recommended, but the conversation included implementation. How can we connect again to the strategic plan and the implementation action items that we have around achieving academic success and not have 2 separate things? And so that's more the how work of the administrative team. Anything from the ad hoc committee? Like to add?
No? Okay. Any other questions or comments on this one? Okay, like I said, if you think of something in between now and when we see it again, please just let Superintendent Dowd know.
Sounds great.
All
And that is
right.
that's it for policies tonight.
All right. Under board reports, we have the AMSD newsletter attached to the board book. Dan pointed out that Shannon and I are featured in the photos from the AMSD Day at the Capitol. So we're famous, I guess. That was a
Or at least
photogenic.
notorious.
Yeah, maybe
We
that's
don't
it.
know which.
Over 170 people came for the AMSD MASA region day at the Capitol, which was a huge turnout. Scott said it was like way more than we've had in past years. And it was, I feel like for me and for the folks that were there from my district, it was a good day of connecting with our folks, and it was a very frustrating day of just sort of hearing, yeah, we hear you. We would love, to do that, but we're probably not going to. So there's the other connected to that, I would say, is the other article in the newsletter is survey showing that AMSD districts are facing more than $280 million in shortfalls. So keep up the legislative advocacy, as Superintendent Dowd said, related to iTrack, but also everything else that's going on. And you've been putting stuff in your newsletter. So keep watching the Friday newsletter for action items like that. We have a Get on the Bus. It is next week on Tuesday. And it is Itinerant Services is going to be hosting us in Osseo, right? Osseo with the Deaf and Hard of Hearing program. So it's going to be, I actually ran into Dr. Lamb on my way out the other day, and they are super excited to host us. And I think this is going to be, it's going to be fantastic. So Tuesday, April 15th, meet here at the district office by 8:30. We literally do take a bus and then we're usually back here like around 11. Okay. So sign up with Juanine if you're able to come. And then the following Tuesday is our next local 2209 board lunch meeting, which is at 1 o'clock, Tuesday, April 22nd. We meet here upstairs in room 316. We usually have a virtual component as well. So if you can join virtually, that's great. And again, let Juanine know if you're going to be there. And if you know whether you're going to be in person or virtual, it's helpful to know that as well. Okay, anything else that I'm forgetting before we do once around? Okay, once around the table. I know you have something.
And you have something.
Yeah.
'Cause you're
I know,
good.
I'm so excited.
So in your current MSBA journal.
Right here on your table.
On your table, and the open full unfold is.
Speaking of famous.
Yes, is our past treasurer, Ruthie Dallas, who received the Marnie Young Legacy Award, which just fills my heart. So there's a lovely picture of her and getting the recognition she very richly deserves. So that.
Rich, would you pass our congrats on to her?
Yes,
Thank you.
Yeah. And that we're thinking of her.
Yes. Any other once around the table items? You all have a transition coming up?
Yes, we had our going away goodbye for Dr. Stanley today, even though her last day's I think the 15th. And Dr. Bittman will start on the 18th. So yes, but all going well, and he's already been involved with quite a lot of things. It's really weird when you have a superintendent who's leaving in the middle before the end of the year. Even though we're happy for her to take on her next role, it is challenging. But as I said here tonight, that you know, she benefited because this was her first opportunity to be a superintendent, and she did a magnificent job of entering into that role. And we especially benefited from her leadership and drive of where we needed to go. So it is bittersweet, but nonetheless, St. Paul will be definitely in better hands than they've been, and hopefully they can, as we all struggle with the things that we have.
Any other items? Okay, well, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So moved.
Hi, Michael. Sorry, just a second, okay.
Feel like somebody seconded.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and we are adjourned at 7:40.
I didn't forget about you. There's so much going on.
That reminds me.
But he and I are gonna be.
I
talking
heard that
Thursday next week.
you
I'll get back to you with some.
were included in a.
I did not forget. I apologize. I didn't get a chance to send that to you.
You're good, I know.
And by the way, I hope this doesn't come across as weird. Every then when I might look at you a little longer.
I get
than
that.
Might be seen. me appropriately.
Yeah.
You remind me of my
How did
sister.
they-
And this is my sister who's no longer with us.
Sure.
And so when I
Absolutely.
remember first meeting you, I was like, why
That's
is she
great.
so familiar? And it's like, it's more. It's
Thank
a
you.
little scary sometimes to,
Yes,
you make me scared, but meaning that it's a little
I think when they were potentially struggling to find
gone for quite some time.
however many people they needed to find,
Have some
Steve even put my name forward,
close to
you know,
it.
but I'm like in a,
Not the same, like, have similarities.
not
kind of.
Not that job,
that
obviously,
quick
but
little
like,
tinge of,
you could
oh,
argue a
so
somewhat.
if I
simpler
ever do
job.
that, I'm trying not to freak you
I was
out.
like,
I'm
I
just like,
cannot
just being
imagine
honest
if they
with
would
you.
ever say.
That might happen every now and then, so forgive me in advance.
Like, even if I paid my own flight,
See you on
I still don't think they would probably be.
They show up in
Did-
every one.
Did I keep a good?
You look good.
I think that they were, I think that that was purposeful.
It's rough out
I
there.
think they're,
It's a little harder than that to knock me over.
I think that they're propaganda.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean?